For this month's Loudini Rock and Roll Circus album retrospective, we're going to tell you all about one of the great guitar-driven soundtracks of all time. 1981's heavy metal set a new standard for featuring the best rock acts of the day, their music as a sort of soundscape to a movie with a lot of boobs. Get ready to rock out with your talk out. It's the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. It is the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Yes, and we are talking about the soundtrack to the movie Heavy Metal. Second podcast of every month is our album retrospective, and that's what we're doing. We've been going through, and it's usually Keith and Lily that are kind of been picking a lot of them, and this was one that I think was pretty much my idea, so you just have to put up with it. So we're going to get into that here in a couple of minutes. Let's do a little bit of business. First of all, we have the full power trio together. I love this. I love when all three of us are together. We've got Keith the Hawk Hawkins from down there in New Orleans. What's going on, Keith? You all right, bro?
Yeah, man, we're living the dream.
Or is the dream living you?
One day at a time. Sweet Jesus.
Sweet Jesus. You and Bonnie Franklin.
That's,
did you get that reference?
It's just one day at a time, wasn't she?
Yeah. Well, there you are. Okay, and then...
Hard shit already, man.
And we also have Lily von Stupp from Blazing Saddle. I'm sorry. Lily V6 from Rock Rage Radio.
So close. We have the same mindset, so why not?
I'm going to turn... I want you to reduce the sheriff of Rock Ridge. The sheriff is... near.
Oh my God.
Anyways, guys, so we got the whole band back together. I'm really excited for it. Last week was a lot of fun. Stone Senate, really good sort of southern rock band, was in the studio with us. That will be out up on Spotify and iTunes and all the places, so you can check with her. Their manager emailed me. They said, where can we get it? So that's going to be coming up. That'll be uploaded in the next day or two, so you guys can check that out, because it was apparently wildly popular. Shout out to Wolf's Customs. No sense getting on stage, and you will be getting on stage soon, at least in Texas, Florida, some of these places. What are you doing, Keith?
I'm going to get on stage Saturday.
Louisiana, Mississippi, some places.
Louisiana's not. It's open for business except for the city I live in, but outside the city.
Well, what are you inviting me down there for? If I'm not going to be able to go, if we're not going to be able to go out, what are we going to do?
Well, that's not for a minute. Maybe things will change.
We could do whatever we want. It's America.
It's America. It's America. Anyways, so Wolf's Customs. You're going to get on stage. You're going to be playing, guys. Things are opening up. You want to make sure that you're on stage with a really badass looking instrument, bass, guitar. I bet he could. You remember those crazy things from the 80s, Keith? That the keyboard player would stand up and play. You know what I mean? Yeah. What was it called?
The keytar.
Keytar. So he could even.
Yeah, I was in a band when a guy played one of those.
There you are. So he could even customize your keytar so you just look, because like playing a keytar is about the dumbest looking thing there is. But if Chris Thunderwolf Dodson at Wolf Customs does a custom paint job on it, you're automatically going to be cool. So definitely get a hold of them. Go to wolfscustoms.online, check them out, and of course our wonderful folks at Rock Rage Radio. Love those guys. They have really opened up a whole new audience to us. So thank you, guys. We salute you. And go to LouLombardiMusic.com to get more information on what we got going on here. We have a private Facebook group, Lou Lombardi's Inner Circle, where you get all kind of cool stuff. There's free downloads and all kind of fun stuff. You can check that out at LouLombardiMusic.com. All right. So, heavy metal.
Which happens to be one of your favorite films.
One of my favorite movies, a lot mainly because of nostalgia. I mean, Keith is a kind of a film buff, and I'm sure we could all agree that no, this is not like this isn't like The Godfather or Lawrence of Arabia.
Oscar worthy.
Yeah, it's not like that, but it is a super fun movie from, and for me, it's a nostalgia thing. It's so
I love that it screams 80s.
It does. It has a lot of great music from that, a lot of great artists from that era, and some who probably should have been a little bit bigger but didn't quite get there.
Yeah, they didn't reach that.
They didn't quite get there. Just out of reach. And there's an eagle on the album doing a solo song that was this eagle's only hit as a solo artist. So there's some really cool little things about the soundtrack. So it's going to be fun to talk about. So, Lily, why don't we start and give us a kind of like background on what, because it is an old movie. It's from 1981, and there may be people scratching their heads, younger folks go scratch their heads going like, I don't even know what this thing is. What are you talking about? Go ahead.
Well, 1981, I was born the very last day, so it came out before me even, so there's that.
It's older than Lily.
This is one of, like Lou said, we do our album choice every month, and this is a little different because this isn't just based on one artist, this is several artists, so I like that whole idea of it. But was released in 1981 on LP, but for legal reasons was not released on CD until 1995 because of all the copyright for some reason. It peaked at number 12. The movie's theme song, Heavy Metal Takin' a Ride, was sung by Don Felder.
The Eagle. Don
Eagle.
Felder, for those guys who know, Don Felder is no longer an Eagle, but he was an Eagle.
Yes.
That's Fingers. They call him Fingers. Call him Fingers.
Finger Felder.
The legal difficulties surrounding the use of some songs in the movie delayed its release to home video. The production company's use of some songs was limited solely to the theatrical release, and soundtrack did not include home video releases. And it was not until 1996 that there was an official home video release on VHS, when Kevin Eastman, who had bought the publishing rights to Heavy Metal Magazine in 1992 and previously contributed to the magazine, reached a settlement with the music copyright holders. So this movie took so much to come out. And what's interesting about it is the soundtrack does not go in the order of the songs on the movie. So they're not the same. Like some soundtracks will go from scene to scene to scene. This one is all over the place. So
it's just how they did. For those of you who aren't familiar, Heavy Metal was a comic, what do you call it, comic graphic novel series magazine that had these sort of sci-fi fantasy stories that were for adults. So there was violence, sex, nudity,
drugs,
things like that. So it was for grown-ups. And so it's just a little bit of a background there. And the movie itself is an anthology film. It's a fantasy, sci-fi, horror, whatever you want to call it, comedy. It is very, very funny. So if you're one of the things that blew my mind when I saw the movie was I wasn't expecting it to be funny. And it's funny as all get out. There's a lot of, and there's got some great voice performances in it. Some of our most beloved actors from that era, John Candy, Harold Ramis.
That's one of the first ones that come to mind is John Candy, because his voice is just so unique, and it's now he's no longer with us, but it hasn't been for a while. But it's the fact where that voice just stands out like a sore thumb. But as soon as you hear him or that character open his mouth up, you're like, that's freaking John Candy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
That was my reaction. Willie and I were sitting in Warndorf Auditorium at IUP, and as soon as the Den of Earth started, we both looked, it's John Candy. Knew right away.
No, go ahead.
Keith,
what
do you want to talk about on this? You have something you want to talk about the movie? Did you like the movie at all? You saw it as a kid, right?
Yeah, but how to try to watch it again, and I got, even before this, I watched it. I tried to watch the beginning of it, and it got through I won't even say half of it, but about the first 30, 40 minutes of it, just to kind of refresh my memory. It was kind of weird that in the first episode, if you call it, that looked like a tune after tune after tune after tune. The one with Harry Canyon as the cab driver.
Yeah.
Harry Canyon. Sounds like a porn name, but it's one of those things where there's all kind of songs like back to back to back. And as I researched the soundtrack, it doesn't really go in any specific order, but you hear songs and then you hear tunes you've heard before, and then there's tunes I don't remember at all in this movie, but Once you get to the second, the one with John Candy, there's like the music just goes away. It seems like
so right. It comes back on the one where there's another one with John Candy where he plays the robot.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of music.
Yeah,
that's where Cheap Trick I believe is in there, and that's super fun.
There's 7 songs just in one section.
Yeah,
so.
And then the one with Captain. Hanover Fist.
Yeah.
There's music in that, and then the one with the Don Felder song with the B-29s, which is like a horror story. That's got that song in it. But yeah, the one with the Den of Earth has more of a like an orchestral kind of soundtrack.
There are 2 soundtracks. There's a complete score soundtrack, and then there's the one we're talking about soundtrack.
Okay.
So they do have a complete different soundtrack with just the score of the movie.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you're right, Keith. On the Den of Earth story, there isn't any rock tunes.
I love that in the next segment, which the one with Hanover Fist, when the guy's being like brought up on all his charges and he has to scroll, and the guy, whoever's reading it, that's Dean Wormer. Whoever the guy that played Dean Wormer is, we'd have to ask our lovely intelligent audience
John
who
Vernon
that is.
or John Vernon or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
I was just waiting for him to go like this. I was waiting for him to read the charge as 0.0, but he didn't. But you see another one that just has that voice. You're like, that's Dean Wormer from Animal House. Whatever his name is, whoever guesses it gets a nothing, but just guess it anyway.
And one moving violation. I've seen it a million times. I love the movie. But go ahead.
There is a second movie as well, Heavy Metal 2000. It was obviously released in 2000, but it was awful. The movie was awful, but it does have a good soundtrack. Includes Billy Idol and some of that sort of stuff. But we're gonna focus on this one.
what they missed out on with the second movie. Did you ever see it? Did you ever try to watch it? The sequel.
I never watched that one, man. So if you're gonna, don't talk about it.
I'm just gonna say real quick is like they missed out what made the original charming.
Yeah.
Which was all the great voice acting and the humor. There's like it's completely humorless. It's just
it's
like
more sci-fi.
It's a total sci-fi. Like it takes itself very seriously. And I watched it. I'm like, oh, it was like a missed opportunity. Like it was all exciting. Like, oh, this is gonna be great. And because but it just. I don't think it's good.
Yeah, everybody super anticipated that when it came out, how exciting it was, and we all did like a movie viewing party, and it was like, oh, I just need to go home now.
I've never seen that, so yeah, I'm not going to watch it now.
No. Just skip it. You're not missing it. You're
really
not missing anything. Yeah. It's a waste of an hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever. Okay. So let's get into some of the bands then. We cool with that?
Yeah. Do track listing?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I thought was the theme song for the movie, which is not, is Heavy Metal Sammy Hagar's version. Also has been dubbed Lily Six's theme song since like 10 years ago by a friend. Hagar wrote the song with Jim Peterick, who was a member of the band Survivor at the time. And Hagar had just signed with Geffen Records, whose executive John Kolodner, I always want to say that wrong, has signed Survivor and deployed Peterick to help 38 Special write songs. And Kolodner arranged the writing session between Hagar and Peterick, which took place in San Francisco. They actually had trouble coming up with ideas, but Hagar remembered that his manager had mentioned that Heavy Metal movie was coming out, and they need writers for songs for the movie.
Oh, so they weren't commissioned to strictly write for that movie.
No.
They were just getting together to start writing.
Yeah, they were just throwing ideas together.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is this Sammy Hagar's first solo hit, first solo song?
That I don't know.
Because I seem to, my mind is always like, because he was in Montrose, and he left Montrose, and then he wasn't in Van Halen, of course.
Right.
So I was always kind of figured that this was the first song. It's like Sammy Hagar solo song that I remember. So anybody out there who's watching live, if you have any info on that, let us know. I'm curious about that. Go ahead.
The idea came from. The idea came from two metalheads attending a rock show. They came up with riffs and lyrics based on those moments of anticipation when waiting for the band to come on stage.
I think it absolutely captures that.
Yeah. And this is from the section of the movie that's my favorite, which is entitled So Beautiful and So Dangerous, with the two kids. Well, I guess they're not kids, but, they wreck the spaceship and the whole thing. So, yeah, that's my favorite part. But it's a great song. I love the song.
Yeah, you want to talk about Sammy Hagar or this song at all, Keith? You have any ideas on it?
I'm going to say that this is probably his first solo hit. I'm just going to guess. This is definitely pre I Can't Drive 55 shit. So.
It sounds right that it would be the first.
If it's not, it's got to be one of his first ones. It's a song that I knew not from the soundtrack. So you're saying that it was written for the soundtrack,
It was
or
written.
just kind of?
It was written for the soundtrack because they were trying to come up with a song. They saw that the movie needed a song, so yeah, basically it was written for the soundtrack.
I think it's a song that you hear on classic rock radio still to this day. I mean, I've heard it many, many times. That's a song that I really don't associate with the movie. That's my only problem with the soundtrack, even though it has a lot of eclectic bands and a lot of good bands and bands that are household names. It also has some bands I've never heard of before. And it's just one of them songs where I think it's just probably it's one of the more standout tracks on the album. But, it's Sammy Hagar, so it's usually... He puts out good shit,
it's balls out. Like, I mean, the other thing, and I know just want to, because Lily and I were talking a little bit before the podcast, like, there's maybe only one or two songs on here that maybe we might consider actually heavy metal.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's called heavy metal because of the series, because of the graphic novel series, the magazine, because that's what it was called. We're going to be talking about some artists on here, and please, you young folks out there, that's not metal. No, we know it's not. Okay, but that's what
Don't forget, this was from like 40 years ago.
Yeah, this is from 1981. and
I think this is one of the true heavy rock songs on the record, and of course, the only ones that would stand out to me that would be really true metal, if you will, would be that, and obviously "Open Arms" by Journey. I mean, that's a closed book.
So, what do you got? What do you got next, Lily?
So the next song is Heartbeat by Riggs. Jerry Riggs, who not nobody, but some people might not know who it is. He was formerly of Pat Travers and the band Lynx, who I didn't know who they were, but now he's a lead guitarist for 38 Special, so he's still prominent in the music scene. They have a very 38 Special sound, Riggs. So I think they sound great. I think they got lost in the shuffle because there were too many bands like that at the time. And this was the band's big break to have not one but two songs on the soundtrack. This one is the first. Came after Irving Azoff offered the band a contract with his Full Moon record label. They were excited to work with Roy Thomas Baker, who is the producer of the album.
Cool.
Who we talked about last week on the podcast.
Yes.
Working in
I like the connection.
You like my
cool.
segue.
Yeah.
Working in Hollywood was with the biggest producer at the time was sort of a big thing for a band who's not really known. It's a very rocking song, and like I said, it sounds much like Survivor and 38 Special to me.
And what was the other song that Riggs has on? Let's just talk real quick while we're talking about Riggs.
Radar
It's all
Rider.
about the Riggs, man. It's all about the Riggs right now.
Radar what?
Radar Rider.
Radar Rider.
Second song by Riggs on the album. This song was actually replaced Don Felder's Heavy Metal as the first song in the movie. For some reason, they said it was like a great launch pad for the beginning of the movie, which it fits into the sequence that's going on.
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
So
with the Corvette, that's a crazy scene in the beginning. Yeah, with the Corvette.
So I think it's great. I didn't have any history on the song other than that, but it is a good song. So
I had that in my notes. It is the very first song on the in the movie. So there you go. That's I never didn't know what the song was. I didn't know the hell Riggs was. I mean, but it's the song that it's got that. Go ahead. Yeah. Kind of rock anthem kind of vibe. So yeah, it's a good energy song that starts off the movie, and that's about all I know about Riggs.
Did you see the movie when you were young or not? You just
Oh yeah, I told you in the thing that my mom.
I know we talked about it amongst ourselves, but it's a podcast and we're trying to share interesting stuff with the audience. Keith's like, I told you.
I thought maybe you knew the answer. You were trying to trick me or something. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
several times. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, fuck. What do you want me to tell you? I've seen it, and I got busted watching it, and my mom flipped out because it was animated tits in it. What are you gonna do? And then the very next Friday, I'm watching Skinamax. She busted me with that too, with real tits. So it's all about tits now.
Not just tits, dude. That's full frontal everything in that movie. I mean, there's some giant wang in that movie too, dude. There's
Oh, Lou, I don't really need. I'm not into that shit. I'm just trying to look away. I mean, if that's your thing, I'm not gonna fault you.
Did you avert your eyes?
Nowadays, everybody does what they want. So if you want to be that kind of guy, I mean, do what you got to do. But I didn't remember those parts. Sorry.
I could never get a chick like this back on Earth.
Well, I didn't see the movie till about 16 years after it came out because, again, I was born after it came out.
I'll tell my story about it here in a minute, but let's pick another band first.
The next one on the list is "Working in a Coal Mine," the DEVO version. It is a cover of an old R&B song written by Alan Toussaint. And
New Orleans' own Alan Toussaint.
Right.
There it is. And originally recorded by Lee Dorsey in 1966. It has been re-recorded by several musicians, but in this case, DEVO. It was included as a bonus 7-inch single package with their album New Traditionalists. This version was later included on the soundtrack. And for this, also Employee of the Month, it entered Billboard September 5th, 1981, reaching number 43, and was also a top 10 single in New Zealand. It was used for the theme. It was used as a theme for the show Working. But what's cool about DEVO in this movie, as DEVO's space-age doppelgangers are in the space-age saloon playing the song, Through Being Cool.
Yeah, why is that not on the soundtrack?
It did not make it. For some reason, they preferred this one on the soundtrack to the other one.
Because
a lot of people argue that point.
Because I listened to that and I'm going like, and that came, and I was because I listened to the soundtrack like 3 times this week, and I was going like, no, it's We're Through Being Cool. It's not Working in a Coal Mine.
Right. And
it's in the Tarna. It's like the last story and they go into the bar and it's DEVO playing.
There they are. Up there.
Yeah, they're cartoon characters, and I think they're the only ones who are cartoon characters in the movie.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Yeah, but "Through Being Cool" is a great song.
Yeah,
too.
A lot of people argue why that one didn't make it. There's no real reason. They just preferred this one to be.
So what you'd have to do then, if you wanted the true heavy metal soundtrack, is you'd have to make your own compilation,
pretty much
CD, and not put on "Working on a Coal Mine." Put in "We're Through Being Cool."
Yes.
If you guys don't know "We're Through Being Cool," after the podcast, go back and listen to it and check it out. You want to talk about DEVO for a second, or Alan Toussaint?
I mean, the DEVO song is like other DEVO songs. When they do a cover, they do it like DEVO. I mean, it's much like, Satisfaction and like whatever other covers they do, and they're known for Whip It and songs like that. But when they do a cover, they put their stamp on it. I'm not usually a fan of bands that do their version of songs, but if you're going to do it up, then do it right like DEVO and make it your own version. That's great, man. I mean, it's a band that just goes to show you that just they're not afraid to take chances and do their thing.
Yeah, they can make keyboards sound rocking too. That
guy played a guitar in that band, I think.
Yeah, he does play a guitar in it.
What a jackass!
He sucks.
Who said that?
Screw
was okay.
those guys. Hell with those guys. Yeah.
Fucking cool.
What's next, Lily?
Veteran of the Psychic Wars by Blue Oyster Cult is the next song on the album. The song first appeared in the 1981 album Fire of an Unknown Origin.
Right. Great album.
An extended live version appears on the 1982 album Extraterrestrial Live, and it also appears on this soundtrack. The phrase "Veteran of 1,000 Psychic Wars" is from the Hawkwind song "Standing at the Edge" from the album Warrior on the Edge of Time in 1975. Which also dealt with the myth of the Eternal Champion and the contained lyrics written by Moorcock. Prior to that, it has appeared as a line in the poem Far Arden by Jim Morrison of The Doors.
Yeah, this is my absolute favorite BOC song. It's one of my favorite classic rock tunes as well. I love those drums. It's very epic sounding.
A lot of effects on a lot of the drums in these, which goes to show you there's definitely an 80s film.
Yeah. This
song fits the movie to a T, though I'm not a big BOC fan. A lot of their music's like a fucking ice pick in my ear, but yeah, this one's tolerable.
I love the band. I love the album Fire of Unknown Origin as well. I like the song Fire of Unknown Origin. And the most famous song on that album is Burning for You, which was a big rock radio hit for them. Veteran of Psychic Wars, I love the sort of idea of the song. I've partied to this song a lot, and it's one of those things when you party and you listen to certain music, you start to kind of get the story of the song kind of in your head, or maybe you make up your own story about it. But just this idea that it's a psychic war, and they've been eating out our brains. It's like oh, please don't let these shakes go on. It's these guys are like wiped out from this kind of it made me kind of think of the movie Scanners. You ever seen that movie?
It's been a minute, but yeah.
Where they use psychic powers and they can blow each other's brains up.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of when I heard that song. But I absolutely freaking love that song. What are you doing, Hawk?
Just getting a drink, man. That's all.
Well, also, this song has actually been covered by Finnish metal band Taro as well as Metallica at the Bridge School benefit.
I would love to hear Metallica do it.
I listened to it earlier. It was pretty good.
Is it pretty good? I'm going to have to try.
And we know I don't love Metallica. So.
Blue. Oi, 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 oi,
Oyster.
oi.
Oyster
oi,
cult.
Oi.
No, I don't have any Blue Oyster cult.
Not the Blue Oyster Collet, friggin' 21 pairs last time I checked. I was this close to working the 7-Eleven, you know.
Thank you.
They, and most famously, Blue Oyster Cult's known for more cowbell.
Hey, whoa. Did you call me a scalper?
Scalper.
We'll do a podcast on Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
We should.
We're actually switching gears and doing it right now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Nancy Wilson is in the movie.
So what do you got next?
Reach Out by Cheap Trick.
Oh, I love this song.
Released in 1981 as part of the soundtrack. It was written by Bob James and Pete Comita and produced by Roy Thomas Baker. Although the film's soundtrack album reached number 12 on the Billboard, Reach Out was not a commercial success and failed to make a chart appearance. The single is only a release from Cheap Trick to feature Pete Comita as a bassist, and I can't read anymore. Comita has replaced original bassist Tom Peterson in 1980. Reach Out was released before the soundtrack album, so I lied, because that totally contradicts what I just said. At the time, Billboard reported some of the soundtrack would be released as a single on the artist's own label, and others on Full Moon/Asylum.
I think this is a really good, typical kind of Cheap Trick. Very catchy.
Yeah.
Big chorus. Great. Robin Zander. I mean, they's freaking crushing it vocally. And it should have been a hit.
It should have charted.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and it's very distinct. As soon as it comes on, you know it's Cheap Trick. I was watching the movie one time, and Stu came into the room. He's like, "Is that Cheap Trick?" I wasn't paying attention to me, but he's like, "It sounds just like Robin Zander." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Cheap Trick."
Do you want me to do the other Cheap Trick song too?
Yeah, what's the other Cheap Trick song?
The other Cheap Trick song on the album is I Must Be Dreamin'. Again, this one is in my favorite section of the movie, So Beautiful and So Dangerous. I'm actually only familiar with the song because of the film. It is the second Cheap Trick song on the album. It's very synth heavy, but that makes it fit, I think, into the whole sci-fi film fantasy thing. I think it could have a little more guitar to synth, but that's why it works. It's about him wanting to reject a girl, and it seems like he is until the lyrics states that he's going down for the count. He's falling again. He can't help himself because women are poisonous and toxic.
Yeah, you all are, bitches.
He doesn't want to love her, but he can't help himself. So,
yeah.
And he never does say that I must be dreaming. He always says you must be dreaming.
So Keith, you want to talk about Cheap Trick for a minute and their appearance in heavy metal?
I'm glad they got 2 songs on the soundtrack. That's nice because you know why? Because I think Cheap Trick is a criminally underrated band.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When I heard that I Must Be Dreaming and what's the other one?
Reach Out.
Reach Out. That's the one. Yeah, definitely soaring vocals by Xander. And then I Must Be Dreaming has that like cool kind of like snare shots of the great Bunny Carlos. No one gives enough credit to the great Bunny Carlos. But yeah, those guys, and Rick Nielsen's always a very tasteful player. It's one of those bands that just kind of doesn't get the credit they deserve. And they have a ton of hits, but they kind of always get that B-list kind of shit, which is, that's a shame. But I mean, that's just kind of the way it is with people. It's kind of hard to deny their body of work. But I mean, it just goes to show you that, that this soundtrack has good taste.
I just got inspired by what you were saying, by what both of you are saying, that I think we should do a podcast. Maybe we should do next week. Cheap Trick versus the Cars.
Huh. We haven't done a versus in a minute. And those are 2 bands that are kind of like, good guitar music, but still got that new wave kind of thing, and similar types of songs in a sense that it's uber catchy, but still got the rock audience, revved up. So just put.
I was actually going to make a recommendation for 1980 through 1985 or 6, where rock music was starting to take a new shape for itself with the new wave kind of stuff. I'm talking even like some of the stuff out of CBGB was coming out, like Blondie and Talking Heads, who were the best crop of those bands. Because there was a lot of new bands coming out, even bands that, it was oddly enough. I mean, you even had like later in the 80s and I mean, mid to late 80s, you had bands like REM who would stay around forever. It was just like there's bands like that were at that kind of forefront of what I would consider new wave and then / alternative music. You can put U2 in that, that kind of category where they were ahead. They were that forefront of that 80s or 80s rock scene, and it was bands that probably came and went that have great players and like Missing Persons. I mean, there's a lot of bands that are at that forefront of that 80s style where it was not quite recognizable yet, but the Cars and Cheap Trick and there's a lot of bands that were
what's
doing something different, but that's something we can talk about.
Well, what's cool about the Cars and Cheap Trick is these guys, they're actually 70s bands. And and so they bring out, so they were able to ride kind of like both waves. You know what I mean? Great music, man. I can't say enough about Cheap Trick. I could do a whole podcast on Cheap Trick.
I love watching Cheap Trick live. Like, they're so entertaining to watch on the stage. I just, like, you can't keep your eyes off.
I mean, I think that was something too that bands thought about then. They were like, well, we got to put on a show, and then you cultivate that. Keith and I are both musicians. You know this. You cultivate that in the clubs because you go like, oh no, okay, so we don't have the budget to do like a Kansas or Genesis show with major, boom, pyrotechnics and lasers and stuff, or Pink Floyd type thing. So what can we do in a club to get people to notice us and have fun and everything? So we got a guy in a bow tie, plays a checkered guitar, and you know what I mean. And then, but even Bunny, you mentioned Bunny Carlos. He cultivated a whole kind of vibe with the sort of like, he kind of looked like the drunk guy at the bar after work.
Yeah, he looks like your chemistry teacher. The chain smokes.
He reminds me of like either Norm or Cliff on Cheers or something like that. You'd be like, you'd walk into Cheers and Bunny Carlos would be sitting there, hey, Bunny,
having a beer.
You'd just be hanging out, drinking
He'd just be sitting there playing a cherry machine with a friggin' ash, like just falling off his cigarette. That's the kind of dude that Bunny Carlos is.
But But he's not in the band anymore, right?
No, I think Rick Nielsen's son plays drums now. I don't think Bunny is
retired.
Not that young, man. He looked older. He looked 50 when they were 20. You know what I mean?
Know.
It's like, it's one of them guys that just, he always looked older than the rest of the band. Just like Tico Torres from Bon Jovi. I think he's probably one of their uncles, and they just kind of were like, oh shit, he can play a 2 and 4. Let's put him in the band, and he was in the band forever.
Oh, that's like the movie.
That's that kind of thing. It's where some people just don't age gracefully. You know what I mean? It's what it is. I mean, I count another gray hair every day, so it's the way we're all falling apart, man. And I don't think Bunny Carlos got from what I read somewhere, he didn't get a real fair shake, but I just don't think that. It was kind of like the Joey Kramer thing where I don't know what kind of playing shape he was in, man. So
legit.
Not a young dude. I'm not even sure of his age, but he always looked older than the rest of them.
Yeah, or he could have just been in he'd just been an alcoholic or something.
Or some people just don't want that kind of lifestyle anymore either. I mean,
they're done. They're done. It's like Vito Bratta. It was amazing, highly influential guitar player. Everybody wanted to play like him, and he's just like, no, I'm done. I don't play anymore. I'm just done. We were like, well, can't you get White Lion back together? And don't you want? And he's like, no. Don't you want to go out and be on a stage? No, I just don't. I'm done. There are people like that. It was like, this was a phase of my life, and I had a good time doing it, but now I'm doing something else. What do you got next?
Heavy Metal, Takin' a Ride.
Oh,
Don
yeah,
Felder.
baby.
So this is considered to be like the song on the album, like the title song, written by Don Felder with backing vocals from Timothy Schmidt and Don Henley. Like I said, not to be confused with the Sammy Hagar version. The B-side, All of You, is also a track on the movie soundtrack album. It is Felder's only solo chart hit, like Lou said earlier. It charted in the U.S., reaching number 43. Personally, I prefer Sammy Hagar's version, but that's just me.
I love it. I think Don Fingers Felder is really a guitar player that people have kind of forgotten about. Like, just don't realize what an amazing musician he is. He's a good singer. I mean, he's no Don Henley. I mean, right. Don Henley's like, that's like in the top 10 greatest classic rock voices of all time. But he's a very, very good singer.
He's on this track. He's singing on this track, right?
Yeah, he's a singer on this track. He's here's one of the things I like about the song. I love the fact that it's kind of a rock disco song.
Yeah.
You could dance to it. Like if this came on, at that time in a disco,
you'd be dancing.
People would get up and dance. So it has that kind of like bum 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 ba da 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 da. It has that pulse. So I think it's really fun. There's just something about it that just captured my attention when it came out. I don't know. I just liked it.
And there it is.
There, and boom goes the dynamite.
Do you want me to do the other Don Felder song too?
Yeah, quick hit on that, and I'm going to tell my story about my first time seeing this movie.
Okay. All of You is the other Don Felder song, like I mentioned. It's a great rock ballad, some cool, funky bass. You can always use a ballad on an album. There's 2 on here, I believe. It has a bluesy, trippy, sexy feel. I kind of feel like I would be making out with my boyfriend in the living room while watching this section of the movie because it's a sexy song.
Oh, my.
But he just wants all of who he is singing about, basically.
So here's what happened.
Okay.
This movie came out in 1981, and my parents were like, no, you're not going to see that. You know, we tried everything, like, but Mom, it's a cartoon. And apparently my mom was hip and was like, no.
She's not dumb.
No, you're not going to that. And then other stuff happened, and I kind of just forgot about the movie because it wasn't like a big hit movie.
Right.
But, you know, it kind of came and went, and then I sort of forgot about it. And a few years later, I was in college, and my buddy, Willie Franklin. You know Willie Franklin, Keith?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Bass player extraordinaire.
Yeah. Probably one of the greatest musicians in the Pittsburgh area. But he and I were in jazz band together, and he said, "Hey, Lou, do you want to go see heavy metal? It's playing at the Orndorff Auditorium tonight, like at 10 o'clock." And he says, "I heard it's a dirty cartoon with good music."
He was not wrong.
And I was like, shit. I'm like, Willie, I always wanted to see the movie, and I never got a chance to see. So, okay, let's go. And so imagine this, dude. It's a small auditorium on campus, packed. I mean, we sat at the very back, and every seat was packed. And they blasted the soundtrack. They cranked it like you were at a concert. And it was a bunch of drunk college kids. And anytime there was nudity or somebody made a dirty joke or there was sex, it was like, woo, yeah, it was a total blast.
Chaos.
Yeah, it was a total blast seeing this movie. Like, I mean, that's probably why, like, I have such an affection for the film because it was just a really fun experience.
It's a nice memory you have.
Yeah, it's a great memory. And, but it was just, we went out there, then we hit the bars.
Of course.
Afterwards and became one of the drunk college kids.
And there it is.
Yeah, it's just a great memory, but it's that kind of movie, and I did not expect it to be funny. Like, there was so much humor, and I was like blown away. And then again, like I said, the great voices that I had had heard in millions of movies. So, do you have any other comments about Don Felder or anything, Keith, before we go to the next artist?
That's one song that when I actually went back and listened to the soundtrack, I remember from the movie without actually having to watch it again. It's just a movie that stands out. It got a good hook to it. It does have a nice driving, danceable rhythm to it. But I really just didn't know that he was. And he's a good singer. He's better than I thought he would be. I mean, that's not that I pay attention. Yeah, that's why I had to ask if that's him on the old vocals there. But yeah, he's probably an underappreciated guitar player, obviously. But yeah, it's a good song, and I think that isn't that it played during the part where one of the chicks riding a big ass bird.
Yeah,
no.
It's not?
Oh, no. Heavy metal?
Oh, the other song.
Yeah, heavy metal is played during the B-29s with the zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's a great. And Felder wrote what's the Eagles song that he wrote? These shoes, is it called These Shoes? Those shoes?
I don't know.
What you call
These Shoes?
Yeah.
It was after Robert De Niro's song. These Shoes?
Yeah, he wrote.
Talking about these shoes?
Yeah, we'll talk about these shoes right here. He wrote that and wanted to sing it, and it caused a lot of division in the band. Don Henley ended up singing it. But anyways, I digress. So what do you got next?
Next is True Companion by Donald Fagen of Steely Dan. Steely Dan's breakup was officially announced on June 17th, 1981, when Donald Fagen gave a scoop to the New York Times that he didn't rule out the possibility that he would one day reunite with Steely Dan co-leader, co-songwriter, blah, 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 but neglected to mention that he already returned to the studio as a solo artist. So he was working on this. The song was his 80s debut. Many people think it was actually The Night Fly. That is not true. This precedes that song. Fagen used the song as an excuse to get back into the studio after a few years off. Lyrically, the song seems to be a Dark Star-esque meditation of people on a spaceship.
It has a great guitar solo on it. Did you find out who plays the guitar on that?
I did not.
Okay. Because I thought it was Walter Becker from Steely Dan. I was like, this might as well be a Steely Dan song.
It sounds there's chords that are played on keyboard that I always call the Steely Dan chords.
Yeah.
And that song takes what? I mean, if I'm listening to the right version, 3.5 minutes for the vocals even come in.
It's almost all instrumental.
But it's straight up Steely Dan. As soon as he starts playing those Donald Fagen Steely Dan chords, you know who the hell it is. You don't have to even hear the vocals.
There's a whole article about this song on movingtheriver.com. That's it, right there.
Oh, that is that. I'm just kind of curious as to because the guitar solo on it is just
it's probably someone. It's probably just an incredible player. It's Steely Dan, or at least the lead vocalist of it. He's not going to play with a bunch of hacks. You know what I mean? You're not going to go to the fucking Mousetrap jam night and grab a bunch of dudes that are playing on stage and have them record with Donald Fagen. He's got the cream of the crop. I mean, so whoever played is probably the killer.
Will Lee's on bass. Steve Jordan. And Don Grohl. I think Don Grolnick is on it. Is the I believe. When I heard it, I'm like, okay, this is one of those guys. This is Dean Parks or Ray Parker Jr. or one of those guys that were floating around the studio in L.A. at that time. But it does have a great guitar solo. And speaking of Donald Fagen solos, there's he did another song for a movie around this same time. FM, no static at all. You know, No Static FM by Donald Fagen. Oh, that's a great song. You know that song, right, Keith?
Yeah, I thought it was a Steely Dan song.
I believe it's a Donald Fagen song.
Oh, it's on Steely Dan's Greatest Hits, Lou. I'm not trying to argue with
okay, then I'm off.
If it's on Steely Dan's Greatest Hits, I think you got the conch.
Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm off.
I'm just saying, if it's on your Greatest Hits, it's not the Donald Fagen solo project.
Maybe
it's
he has.
Steely Dan project.
Okay, go ahead. Lily, give us the next thing, and I'm curious now because in my mind I always thought it was.
This is what happens. You start thinking, and then you have to look up
know. Thought it's dangerous.
The next song is "Crazy: A Suitable Case for Treatment" by Nazareth. Not much history behind the song. It is in my favorite section of the movie that I talked about before. So beautiful and so
You're right,
dangerous.
Keith. It is a Steely Dan song. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think this is a super underrated song. It wasn't one of Nazareth's hits, but I really love the song. And it didn't even appear on an album of theirs until 2010 when they remastered The Full Circle. But it's pretty sleazy. They don't typically come off sleazy, but it's a pretty sleazy song.
What's the singer's name? He's got an amazing.
I can't
very
remember his name.
Very distinctive voice, and when that kicks in, you're that's Nazareth.
Oh, that's definitely Nazareth.
Yeah, you can tell immediately that it's them. So.
But this one is very sleaze rock, and that's why I like it.
Lily, what are you trying to say?
I like sleaze rock.
Any comments on Nazareth or the song, Keith?
Actually, I listened to the song, and it just kind of sat there.
You didn't do anything for you?
Then I just went on living my life. I don't know. It's another band that like BOC that's like a fucking ice pick to my ear at times.
Don't really dig them, huh?
If I have to hear Love Hurts one more time, I'm going to have to kill myself. It's just one of them songs I've never heard before, and I hope I never hear again. But then again, what do I know? Hair
of the dog. Let's move on. What's next? Lily?
Open Arms by Journey, which
Broken
is one
Arms.
of the bigger songs on the album. It was also on Journey's album Escape in 1981, co-written by Steve Perry and Jonathan Cain. This is about a drifting relationship. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this song before. Most recognizable radio hits, biggest Billboard hit, Behind Centerfold by Jay Giles and I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett. Been covered by just about everybody. Mariah Carey, even. God help us.
Wow, Mariah Carey and Open Arms.
It has been dubbed as one of rock's most beautiful ballads. That's basically all I could say on it.
I like the fact. I remember hearing the song, and that and Faithfully, the things I liked about those songs was that yes, it's a love ballad, but there's some like crunchy guitar in it. Neil Schon, man, it's like he's bringing it out, man. You could tell Neil's like, wait a minute, we could do these ballad things, but there's got to be some like guitar shit going.
I mean, that was the compromise. I mean, it's a song that when you're gonna have a love make. We'll just say it for the kids out there. When you have a love making scene in a movie, throw a Journey tune in, and probably this one. I mean, it's been in a bunch of movies, and it's probably one of the biggest rock power ballads of all time. And it's just it's kind of a little weird for this movie, but it works. I mean, it's.
And Keith, you're right. An FM, no static at all, is a Steely Dan song. My bad.
And Dan McCafferty is the lead singer of Nazareth.
Dan McCafferty, not to be confused with John Caffrey from the Beaver Brown Band.
Right. Yes.
You could get to play at your backyard barbecue for $3,000.
On the dark side.
They'll do that, and then they go, "Good night, see ya."
No, there was another song, something Years, Wonder Years, or Open Years, or something. I don't know.
I remember that. Yeah.
They had Golden Years or something like that.
That just sounded like a bad Bruce Springsteen impression.
Yeah, it sounded like a slow like one of Springsteen's, like not like a bad ballad, like a Springsteen ballad that like wasn't good enough to be on any album. It's like on a demo in his, drawer.
Like his Tender Years, actually.
Tender Years.
But my mind sometimes works, man. And then sometimes it just goes away.
Well, like I said, I thought that FM was a Donald Fagen song. It's a Steely Dan song. Okay. What do you got next?
Queen Bee by Grand Funk Railroad. Originally released on the 1981 Grand Funk Lives. That was their first album since disbanding in 1976. This track was featured in the film during, again, the So Beautiful and So Dangerous section, my favorite. It's about a man wanting the chick, a.k.a. the Queen Bee, the girl that everybody wants. He wants to take her away, blah, blah, blah. I do not like this song. This is the only song I don't like on the album. I don't think it fits. I'm not the producer, so what the hell do I know? So.
All right. I listened to the song a couple times this week because I listened to the album. I think it's a cool rock tune, I guess. I kind of like, okay, you said Nazareth and BOC or what those bands that like, Grand Funk Railroad, and maybe this is blasphemy, is one of those bands that's just kind of I know that they were a real force to be reckoned with in the 70s, played stadiums and everything like that. But when I hear and I know Mark Farner's a cool guitar player and good voice and a song, they wrote Some Kind of Wonderful. It just never really reached me. I don't know why. I should like them, but it just doesn't do anything for me. You have any thoughts on the Grand Funk Railroad?
I'm actually going to have to probably agree with you 150,000% on this. I mean, Grand Funk Railroad, other than the introduction or the drum intro to a Word American Band, which was is cool. This song has a lot of affected out drums, like a lot of these tunes on a record do. It is the 80s. What are you going to do? It's a song that I wasn't familiar with, and Grand Funk Railroad is, one of them bands that I just don't really have a lot of knowledge of because I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, they just It's like, it's okay. I know there's people that like absolutely love them.
Don Brewer grows a great afro though. That dude, his shit was up here. It was like Welcome Back Cotter for a while. It was like Welcome Back Brewer, and it was like 6 inches high. Like Kid and Play would not have the hair that high.
See, I like Grand Funk. I just don't like this song. I just think it's incredibly boring.
It's probably like a throwaway track. You know what I mean? It's one of them songs that didn't fit on one of their albums. Like, hey, even the Donald Fagen song, as much as I love Billy Dan, you all know. It sounded like something that was should have been on Asia, but they just didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too about True Companion. Like, and again, I love Donald Fagen, I love Steely Dan, but I was kind of like, with it being so instrumental, at the
why did it take so long to get us? Did he forget where he was at in the song? Or we were like, Donald, we pushed play like 3 minutes ago. Holmes.
Like this was something that like they put together, and let's do a lot of jamming, and then I'll do a little vocal thing here, and then we'll wrap it up, and like maybe kind of an experimental sort of thing. It's cool because of who it is and what it is, but it isn't like it wouldn't be a standout Steely Dan track by any means. What's that? We got to be toward the end here, right?
Yeah, we got three more. The Mob Rules by Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah, great song.
One, of course, the songs that makes it heavy metal, I think. This is not Ozzy Sabbath, this is Dio Sabbath.
Which makes it way cooler.
Which makes it fit perfectly into the film's theme because Dio is all about the fantasy themes. Was obviously released on album Mob Rules in 1981. The album was actually confusing for all band members because they were going from satanic themes to fantasy themes, which they were known for the satanic themes. The song was about how people ignore their individuality and their own personal beliefs when they are in the mob and still go for the mob mentality. And they can't think for themselves in most cases.
Maybe people should listen to this song now.
Thank you.
I just have that in my notes. See, great minds think alike. I said this song would be right up there with what's going on today with all the BS going on. But I think this is probably, it's a song that I knew, obviously, other than the soundtrack. It's probably, for me, if I don't know if we have time to rank them, it's the best song on the soundtrack.
It's definitely, it might be, I might say number one on that too. I mean, like, it's definitely in the top three for me. Mm-hmm. I think
it's just a kick-ass song. I'm not as big as a DEVO Sabbath fan as probably you are, but I like the Aussie Sabbath a little bit more. But it's just one of the Ronnie James Dio is, and always will be a great vocalist. He's a great front man. From what all things are said about him, was a great human being. And it's a great song. And Black Sabbath's a great metal band. And I think this is perfect for the album. And I think that if it was up to me, which it wasn't, I would have put more heavier acts on because the song, the album or the movie you just called Heavy Metals, I would have put more like hard edge bands on there. But this is to me the shining, the green orb of the
Lochnar.
The album. The Lochnar of the album, where everybody wants that. The Mob Rules right there. So
I love the album. I love the album Mob Rules. In fact, a few months ago, I was on a playlist with it, and I played it over and over. It's just so cool to hear that era of Sabbath and kind of what they were doing and how Dio really influenced like everything about them. They became kind of a different band. It's kind of like Sammy Hagar in Van Halen versus David Lee Roth. Yeah. They kind of became a different band.
Still good, but
with Dio, very good, but a different kind of Sabbath. And I would love to talk about the song all day because I love Black Sabbath. But what do you got? What's next?
Prefabricated by Trust. If you do not know who this band is, they are a French hard rock band founded in 1977 and popular in Europe in the first half of the 1980s. What's great about this, Bon Voisin, who is the lead singer, sort of sounds a little bit like Bon Scott from AC/DC, but they do talk about a lot of political themes in their music. Nico McBrain and Clive Burr were both part of that band at one point, but they are not part of the song. The vocals are meh. I don't really like the vocals on the song, but I do like the song in general. The lyrics do seem to be on theme with what Trust did with the political, very Big Brother-like, and that we are slaves to the commercial life.
What segment of the movie is this in?
This is in, I think it's in my section. Hold on, let me look.
We're talking Prefabricated?
Yes.
Prefabricated. Any thoughts on this?
That is in the section that I like.
I don't really have anything to say about it. I don't know the band.
I think the drum intro sounds like it's Cozy Powell on the drums, man. It sounds like someone like a Rainbow, kind of like that Cozy Powell, kind of like, double bass, real simple, but like cool, just tasteful, playing the cozy attitude, a lot of acts. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's Cozy on the track, but it's someone that sounds like him. But it's got that classic metal sound, man. I think did Metallica cover a Trust song somewhere along the line?
Probably.
Yeah, that was their shtick.
That band sounds familiar to me, just due to the fact it's like Diamond Head or some shit. Yeah. Where you were like, who the hell's Diamond Head? But you knew Metallica did MIE.
And there's one song, the only female.
The only female on the album, Blue Lamp by Stevie Nicks. Iconic voice, only female on the album, originally recorded for her solo album debut, Belladonna, but not used. It was actually about a blue Tiffany lamp that her mother gave her, and it became her favorite possession because of the way the light shined through. It would symbolize the light at the end of the tunnel for her and Lindsey Buckingham. I know, it was very sentimental. It was very important to her that the song found a place for itself. She's in love with the song. It was really the beginning of Belladonna because it was the first thing she ever recorded with other musicians, and it was the first time she'd ever recorded by standing in a room singing at the same time that 5 guys were playing, because Fleetwood Mac didn't do it that way.
Okay.
So, there it is.
Very cool. Any comments on this?
That's because Fleetwood Mac only had 3 guys in it. So. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to count the numbers, this is one of the most distinctive voices in rock history. The song does nothing for me, but it's Stevie Nicks, and she's the White Witch, and she's cool. I don't know, but it's just one of them songs that kind of just. I can see why I didn't make the cut, but it's a song. Like I said, it's another iconic voice. I'm not going to rag on it. It's not one of her better songs. What are you going to do?
She's got enough.
So Heavy Metal, if you've never seen it, you can find it on streaming. Go check it out.
Good luck finding the album, though.
Yeah. Well, you can hear the songs if you watch the movie. You hear the correct songs, the correct DEVO song.
Yes, the one that should have been on the album.
Yeah. So check that out. If you ever seen it, go give it a listen. On this day, speaking of Black Sabbath, on this day in 1970, having recently changed their name from Earth to Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward made their concert debut at the Roundhouse in London as Black Sabbath. This day in 71, Led Zeppelin appeared at Leeds University, Leeds, England, during their Back to the Clubs tour. It was the first tour which saw Zeppelin performing Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, and Gain, California. Keith, you'll like this. In this day in 1975, Telly Savalas, actor, was at number 1 on the UK singles chart with his version of David Gates, from Bread, the song If. So Telly Savalas sang If, if a picture paints. Crazy, right? Who loves you, baby? Who loves you?
Long as it wasn't Bill Gates, we'll be all right.
On this day in 1987, U2 released their 5th studio album, The Joshua Tree. Classic. Perfect album, right, Keith? There's not a bad thing on The Joshua Tree.
They're really their 5th album. I would have never guessed that. I would have thought it was I thought it was their 3rd album, actually.
Should I Stay or Should I Go gave The Clash their only UK number 1 single after the track was used for a Levi's TV advertisement. The track was first released in 1982 from the album Combat Rock, which is a great... Everybody talks about London Calling, but I love Combat Rock. So that happened on this day in 1991. Brad Delp, in this day in 2007, Brad Delp, lead singer of the U.S. rock band Boston, More Than a Feeling, Don't Look Back, Foreplay Long Time, committed suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning at his home in the New Hampshire town of Atkinson. He died from smoke of 2 charcoal grills he lit inside his sealed master bedroom. Wow. He was found by police lying on a pillow on his bathroom floor with a note paper clipped to his shirt, which read, "Mr. Brad Delp, I'm a lonely soul." Oh, I'm kind of getting a little choked up there. Don't want to read this. On this day in 2010, Lil Wayne was sentenced to a year in prison.
Damn it.
All right, upbeat.
Okay, there's a couple birthdays. Not a lot of super famous people, but some super famous. Keith, you're a jazz guy. Ornette Coleman was born on this day in 1930.
1936.
1936. The urban cowboy himself, Mickey Gilley.
I love that movie.
Come on down to Gillies and ride the bull.
That's right. Robin Trower, or from Pittsburgh, Robin Trower, was born on this day in 1945. Chris Thompson, singer with Manfred Mann's Earth Band. And not Ozzy Osbourne, but the other famous Osbourne, Jeffrey Osbourne, On the Wings of Love.
You cracked me up.
What about Anders Osbourne? You know that one.
Let me see. Anybody else of note? Robert Sledge, bassist of Ben Folds 5. Very, very unique bass player. Plays some cool stuff with the distortion and stuff like that. So this is some birthdays that are happening, going on. Also on this day in 2012, 76-year-old Jerry Lee Lewis married for the 7th time when he wed his caregiver Judith Brown. Lewis split from his 6th wife, Carrie McIver, in 2004. After 20 years of marriage, Brown, who was 14 years younger than Lewis, was previously married to the star's cousin Rusty.
I mean, he likes them youngins, doesn't he?
I mean, the dude is what? It's 115 at this point, and
he's
still rolling, right? He's still alive, right?
Yep. He's still the killer, man.
And no offense, but he was the killer. I mean, I'm not trying to give nicknames to people, but he was the killer way before O.J. Simpson. So I'm just saying that's just the way that is.
Oh, any comments before we get out of here?
Everybody's saying how they haven't really seen the movie, but they know the soundtrack. That's what I'm getting a lot of. So.
Give the movie a try. I mean, it's dated, but
it's fun.
It's just
it's
fun.
Really
fun. Don't go in thinking like you're going to be like, oh my God, it's the greatest movie in the world. It is not.
Totally worth a watch.
One of the first movies to use rotoscope technique as well. So, anyways, all right, Keith, what do you got going on that we can tell everybody about?
This Saturday, I'll be at the Babylon Club in Metairie, Louisiana. So, if you're in the Metairie, Louisiana area, come down. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen the movie a lot. I think it's the same Babylon Club that Scarface got showed up at.
Oh, nice.
It's not.
Yeah.
Damn. I was excited. Say
hello to my little friend.
That was probably Miami, huh?
It's the one where Richard Belzer was telling jokes at first.
Lily,
Um,
was I?
I have my show Thursdays Hot Licks with Lily 6 on Rock Rage Radio. You can download the app for free or go to rockrageradio.com. I interviewed the band Heartsick this week. Also, Horrid Fest is coming up at the Subalpine in August. Horrid Fest in August. Horror Fest.
How much? What's going on there? What's going on?
In August. So stay tuned for the lineup announcement on that.
Speaking of announcements, Rockin' Pod 2021 is happening in Nashville, Tennessee, and hopefully, I know I will be there, and I will be presenting. Hopefully, with the Six and the Hawk will make an appearance as well. We need to talk about hotels and stuff this week, guys, and if we're going to do that, I'm going. I don't know if you guys want to go, but it's
when is it? August something.
August
first weekend.
First weekend. It's like 4th and 5th, or 3rd and 5th, or 5th and 6th, something like that.
I think I'm going back to Pittsburgh the 7th and 8th because for a wedding. But I don't know if that's going to jive or not. We'll see.
Okay. So if you guys are, there's going to be tons of great bands playing. Some famous people are going to show up and do signings and stuff. People like Billy Sheehan, people like that of that ilk are going to be in there. It's a couple of days of people talking about music. You get to meet a lot of rockers. There's shows around the city that are part of the event as well. There's going to be a bus that's going to take you from the hotel into Nashville to the clubs to see the bands and things like that.
That's cool.
You're going by yourself. Who's staying in your room?
I don't know. Me, you. Me. And there's going to be
me. That's who.
There's going to be and a lot of times what happens is super groups form spontaneously. Like last year, you had Michael Sweet.
Michael Sweet.
Yeah, just popped up and started jamming with other guys. It was just really a bunch of stuff like that happens. So it's super fun. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of memorabilia. There's a lot of folks there peddling, tons of rock memorabilia and old posters and magazines and stuff. So if you love rock, this is definitely something you definitely want to check out. So check that out. We'll give you more information as it comes up. Real quick, one more time, wolfscustoms.online. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Rock Rage Radio. Go to rockrageradio.com. Download the app so you can listen to Lily V6's show on Thursdays. And go to LouLombardiMusic.com to get all things Loudini and Lou Lombardi. Hey, fun show tonight. High energy, everybody. We're all talking about. It was a good time. If you haven't seen heavy metal, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, you can find it streaming. It's all out there. Guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you all in the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.